While there are a fair amount of tools, techniques, inputs, and outputs in place to help the project manager and team develop a project management plan, there are many opportunities for failure as the plan moves through conceptualization and project integration management. Part of a project manager's responsibilities is to watch out for the gotchas that can cripple a project. When faced with a possible failure, the project manager needs to face the problem immediately and head on. The project manager may be able to change the delivery method to adapt to changes in project activities based on requirements. Having an assertive approach and providing specific directions can help validate the project manager as the authority to lead the project. When a project is faltering, the project manager should not ask open-ended questions or resort to a "what would you do" approach. Instead, the project manager needs to own the activities and steer the ship in such a way as to instill confidence within the project team and stakeholders. Believe it or not, a gut feeling should be used as a tool to determine the success of a project. If an activity does not feel right or does not look right, the project manager should perform enough due diligence to address any concerns. From an ethical perspective, a project manager should not carry project activities forward unless he or she is certain the activities based on the project management plan will meet the expectations of the customer within the project's constraints. Ethical behavior is also a requirement for project managers seeking certification. Challenges or pitfalls can occur throughout the life of a project. It's up to the project manager to plan for those challenges and identify the associated risks that could impact the project. This is why all the respective plans need to come together on an iterative basis to deliver project plan activities. Challenges related to scope can impact the project plan based on details that turn into requirements. If those details do not permit the ability to decompose work into explicit dimensions, the requirements may be delivered at a level higher than expected. This could affect the work packages being developed. As an example, activities delivered may not pass user testing criteria, or the quality of the product may not be sufficient. In either case, the work package may require additional work or may have to be scrapped. Think about that impact. If work is redone, efforts impacting the project's critical path may need to be pushed out. That means you will need to modify your project schedule, potentially delaying the project. If your project is delayed, your metrics will illustrate the fact that you missed initiatives based on time and budget constraints. It's easy to appreciate the severity of this type of impact. If even one work package is incorrectly managed, the entire project deliverable could be at stake. It's imperative to ensure that the scope of your project meets the requirements specified by the sponsor, and that the project team collaborates to determine risks at the activity level of a work package. This way, the product of that package will meet the client's needs directly without requiring rework or impacting the project's overall schedule or critical path. We just mentioned the term work package, which is part of the work breakdown structure. The WBS, as it's called, gives the project manager and project team a full decomposition of the project to the smallest increments that can be monitored, managed, measured, and performed. The lowest level WBS components are called work packages, which detail the planned work. The WBS could experience pitfalls by not being specific enough at the task level. The devil is in the details, whereby every work package needs to be thoroughly thought out to identify detailed activities. Once those activities are in place, the appropriate measurements pertaining to constraints, resource, cost, time, quality, scope, and so on, are applied. Enterprise organizational assets could create pitfalls if those assets are not kept current or are not used. Large organizations typically perform audits of quality assessments around project activities. Those audits usually take place during the life of a project or at the end of a project. If a project manager chooses not to use organizational assets such as templates, forms, or processes, he or she could put the entire project at risk to a degree where the project itself may be brought to a halt. In this instance, the term showstopper comes to mind. A showstopper is an issue or event during a project that requires a complete halt to the future project activities until the issue is fully mitigated. Budget pitfalls should be taken into consideration for funding project activities. Just because a project is aligned to a budget doesn't mean the budget provides a blank check to spend across the project. Performance management and earned value management activities should be tied directly to the project's budget to ensure that all activities related to spending are monitored and controlled within acceptable time constraints, so as not to create additional risk to the project. For example, the project manager should review the budget every week to ensure a solid and standard set of cost management processes. If the review is performed every other week, instead, the project manager may put the project at risk due to the inability to recover from issues with appropriate timeframes. Schedule and quality planning pitfalls can expose risks or potential issues based on the manner in which the project is scheduled. The project manager may have to use techniques such as resource leveling or crashing a project to ensure appropriate subject matter experts are readily available when needed during the project. Quality planning should ensure that the level of quality aligned to the project deliverables meets the expectation of the sponsor and stakeholders. Exceeding the anticipated level of quality may actually create a risk rather than result in a benefit because of cost offsets required to deliver quality at higher than expected levels. Human resource pitfalls may surface in regard to staff alignment within the project plan. When planning a project manager should use a headcount factor at least 30% higher than what the project requires. This factor enables the project manager to allow for vacations, holidays, sick time, or any other time off which would ordinarily cause insufficient project resources. Communication planning pitfalls may occur when a project manager fails to communicate at the appropriate level or provides inappropriate communications to the project management team and sponsors or stakeholders. Examples of inappropriate communication are updates that contain classified or confidential information being disseminated without discretion to the entire project team. The timing and sequence of communications is also essential that anticipated activities take place per the project schedule. Risk management pitfalls can occur when the project management team does not pay enough attention to potential risks or they fail to plan accordingly. Contingency and mitigation plans should capitalize on details provided by the project's risk log. The risk log should review each work package on an item-by-item basis and associate respective risks to activities within the work package. If the risk log does its job, there should be documentation pertaining to each work package and the level of risk associated with delivering that work package. Vendor management or procurement planning pitfalls could have a severe impact on project activities. When committing to third-party resources for the delivery of products and services, a project manager needs to pay special attention to the contract and ensure that the service provider is meeting contractual obligations. To provide transparency over the life of the project, a project manager should take advantage of the communication plan, the risk management plan, the human resources plan, the schedule plan, the budget, and all of the prior plans to ensure deliverables meet expectations within the constraints of the project. The project manager really has his or her hands full when it comes to developing the project management plan. The standardized set of steps of inputs, tools, and outputs deliver iterative activities to drive the project and are complicated to manage. The project manager also needs to provide administration over the project to ensure strategic imperatives are taken into consideration and pitfalls are identified early on as risks so they can be managed accordingly.